What if the earth itself is a living, breathing being and the temples of old were built like acupuncture needles, piercing her skin to awaken her energy? There's an invisible web woven into the surface of the earth. It doesn't show up on modern maps, yet it stretches across continents with eerie precision, linking Stonehenge to the pyramids, Machu Picchu to Angkor Wat. These aren't random alignments or architectural accidents. They are deliberate placements, sacred geometries etched across the globe. The ancients called them dragon lines. The Druids sensed them as serpent currents. Chinese geomancers knew them as lung mei, the paths of the earth's breath. We know them today as ley lines. But these are more than mystical folklore. They are the planet's energetic arteries. And just as a human body has meridians through which life force flows, so too does Gaia herself, our great ancient mother. Why were temples, pyramids, cathedrals, and stone circles placed with such astonishing accuracy upon these lines? What did the ancients know that we have forgotten? Did they understand something about the earth's consciousness? Did they build not just upward toward the heavens, but downward into the very soul of the world? In this video, we're going to unveil the deeper reason why ancient temples were built on ley lines. We'll begin with the lost historical and philosophical roots of this forgotten science. Then, we'll explore what ley lines truly are, how they work, how they were mapped, and how they influenced not just where people built, but how they lived. We'll travel from the stones of Glastonbury to the deserts of Egypt, from the jungles of the Maya to the shadowed corridors of forgotten cathedrals. You'll learn how these energy lines can still be felt today, and how connecting to them may awaken something dormant within you. This is not just a lesson in sacred geography. This is a recalibration of perception, because when you learn to see the earth as the ancients did, you don't just walk on the land. You walk on living light. To understand why temples were placed upon the veins of the earth, we must first enter the minds of those who walked before us, not as primitive builders, but as cosmic engineers. The ancients didn't separate the sacred from the scientific. To them, the earth was not a dead rock hurtling through space. It was a living organism, pulsing with intelligence and energy, what the Greeks called Gaia, the Mayans called Ixchel, and the Vedic seers named Bhumi Devi. Let's begin with a truth that modern minds find inconvenient. The ancients had no concept of random. The position of every stone, every shrine, every pillar was chosen with sacred intent. When they built, they aligned, not just with the stars, but with the energies flowing through the earth itself. The idea of energy lines, or ley lines, is not a Western invention. In ancient China, feng shui masters spoke of qi flowing through the landscape. Their sacred sites were built at points where this qi pooled, spiraled, or intersected, like energetic eddies in a cosmic river. These places were believed to harmonize heaven and earth, human and divine. In India, temple architects followed the principles of Vastu Shastra, a spiritual science of spatial harmony. Temples were not just built where land was available, but where prana or life force was most potent. The Garbhagriha, the temple's innermost sanctum, was placed at a precise energetic node where offerings could literally charge the environment. In Europe, the Druids built megalithic circles on spots where they sensed the land singing. They called them dragon lines, and their rituals sought to awaken these dragons, forces of transformation, fertility, and insight. Later, Christian cathedrals were often erected on the ruins of these ancient sacred spaces, absorbing and redirecting the old energies through new symbols. The term ley lines itself wasn't coined until 1921 by Alfred Watkins, a British antiquarian. He noticed that ancient monuments across the English countryside, stone circles, burial mounds, old churches, often fell in straight, seemingly intentional alignments. He called these lines lees, from the Old Saxon word for cleared path or meadow track. But the concept was far older than his pen. Watkins had rediscovered a fragment of a forgotten science. The ancients, it seems, didn't just build for the eye, they built for the soul. They understood that certain points on Earth acted like portals or pressure points, and that temples placed there could do more than glorify gods. They could alter consciousness, uplift the spirit, and heal the land. The philosophical underpinning of this belief is profound. The Earth has a consciousness, and the purpose of sacred architecture was to be in dialogue with it. Temples, then, were not mere buildings. They were resonance chambers, frequency tuners, living prayers carved into stone. By placing these structures on ley lines, the ancients weren't just trying to reach the heavens. They were trying to awaken the earth herself and anchor the divine in matter. And perhaps they succeeded. Imagine for a moment that the earth is a colossal musical instrument, an ancient harp strung with invisible threads of power. These threads, known as ley lines, stretch across continents, linking sacred sites as if composed by the hand of a divine cartographer. To the untrained eye, they're invisible. To the ancient initiate, they were as obvious as rivers of light. Ley lines are not just poetic metaphors or mystical fantasy. They are subtle energy pathways, akin to the meridians of the human body in Chinese medicine. Just as qi flows through our veins, the earth pulses with energetic currents that move through mountain ranges, coastlines, and underground waterways. These ley lines are the nervous system of the planet, a lattice of subtle geomagnetic force. But how did the ancients detect them? The answer is twofold: observation and attunement. Ancient architects and mystics developed an intuitive sensitivity to the land. They used dowsing rods, pendulums, or simply their own bodies as instruments. Some would walk the landscape barefoot for days, feeling for the tingle beneath the soles. Others observed animal behavior. Bees, birds, and even cattle gravitate toward places of harmonious energy. In India, sages sat in silent meditation until the breath of the earth whispered to them. They didn't just read maps. They read the land. Once the lines are found, they sought nodes, points where two or more ley lines intersect. These junctions were considered power points, pulsing with concentrated energy. Here, temples were built, and not just placed haphazardly. Each stone was aligned to enhance the flow, like tuning forks in resonance. Now, here's where it gets more mysterious. Temples weren't only on ley lines. They were designed to amplify them. Sacred geometry played a central role. Builders encoded divine ratios, the golden mean, the Fibonacci spiral, the flower of life, into the architecture. Why? Because these forms resonate with the fundamental patterns of reality. They don't just look beautiful, they create harmony. When these geometries intersected with ley line energy, something remarkable happened. A resonance field was born. Think of it like striking a perfect chord. The temple becomes a resonant chamber, vibrating with the earth's frequency. The air hums. Consciousness shifts. Pilgrims enter. Not just a building, but a space where the veil is thin. A place where one feels lighter, clearer, more awake. And there's more. These sites often align not just with ley lines, but with celestial bodies. The Temple of Karnak in Egypt, for instance, aligns with the rising sun during the winter solstice. Stonehenge marks both solstices. The Great Pyramids are aligned with Orion's belt. This suggests an even more profound principle, that ley lines are not only terrestrial, but cosmic. The ancients saw Earth as a mirror of the heavens. When they built temples, they were creating star maps in stone. To the modern mind, this all seems impossible. How could civilizations without satellites or GPS achieve such precision? But perhaps that's the wrong question. Perhaps their tools were inner, not mechanical, but meditative. Perhaps they were listening to the earth, while we have forgotten how. And perhaps they were not building for themselves, but for future generations. For us. If the first secret of ancient temples lies in where they were built, upon ley lines, energy nodes, and cosmic alignments. Then the second secret lies in why. What purpose did these sacred structures truly serve? What occurred within their walls that warranted such meticulous placement and esoteric design? Let's begin with the function of activation. Temples weren't just houses of worship. They were energetic engines, alchemical vessels meant to transform human consciousness. Just as a tuning fork vibrates to a specific frequency, these temples were attuned to the Earth's vibratory field. When a person entered the temple, particularly during auspicious celestial alignments, they weren't just stepping into a building. They were stepping into a field, a dimensional portal where energy, intention, and divinity converged. At the nodes of ley lines, the Earth's electromagnetic charge is more intense. Sensitive instruments today can even detect anomalous magnetic fluctuations at these sites. But the ancients didn't need machines. They built structures of focus at raw power, like lenses concentrating sunlight into flame. The temple became a resonator, amplifying intention, prayer, ritual, and consciousness itself. This is why initiation rites were held in such places. Take the Oracle of Delphi, for example. Situated at a powerful ley intersection, the Pythia would enter trance-like states and receive visions, not by accident but by design. The geometry of the chamber, the natural gases beneath the earth, and the alignment of the structure all worked in harmony to alter consciousness. Ancient Egypt's mystery schools used similar techniques: deep chambers, resonant halls, hidden geometry. These were not decorative. They were functional metaphysical tools. And then there were sound frequencies. Many ancient temples were designed with acoustic precision. Chanting within these walls created standing waves, vibrations that activated certain parts of the brain and body. These sounds resonated not just with the stone, but with the person within it. In places like the hypogeum of House of Flini in Malta, a low chant at 110 Hz creates a trance state linked to theta brain waves, associated with deep meditation and psychic perception. The ancients understood that matter is not separate from spirit, that vibration, frequency, and intention are the true architects of reality. Thus, the temples became places of entrainment. The human mind, disordered and distracted, would enter and gradually sync with the earth's rhythm, the cosmic rhythm, the divine rhythm. Through this alignment, one could receive visions, heal diseases, commune with ancestors, or even pierce the veil of mortality. But here's where modern science catches a glimpse of the ancient truth. Recent research in quantum biology, cymatics, and geomagnetism suggests that human consciousness is affected by electromagnetic fields. Areas of geomagnetic anomaly can influence brainwave states, emotional balance, even dream activity. Scientists have recorded spikes in brain coherence during geomagnetic storms, mirroring the effects of deep meditation. Could it be that ancient temples were, in effect, early consciousness technologies? Some researchers have even speculated that the global network of ley lines mirrors the Earth's crystalline grid, a theoretical energetic lattice that stabilizes planetary consciousness. If true, then temples weren't random. They were nodes in a planetary network, much like neurons in a brain. And when the ancients performed rituals at these sites, they weren't just praying. They were communing with the earth, encoding information into the planetary field. And so, to walk the halls of an ancient temple was not merely an act of pilgrimage. It was an act of activation, of plugging into a living circuit of sacred energy that spanned continents and centuries. These temples are not dead relics. They are sleeping giants, still humming beneath the surface of modern forgetfulness. All we must do is remember how to listen. You might be wondering, if I don't live near an ancient temple or sacred site, how can I access this energy? How do I apply any of this to my life? Here is the secret. You don't need to stand on the stones of Machu Picchu to awaken the temple within. The ancients were not just builders, they were tuners. They understood that the earth itself is an instrument, and so is a human body, A temple was merely the external architecture, mirroring an inner state. You can recreate that alignment anywhere, anytime, by tuning yourself to the same principles. Let's begin with the inner ley lines. In esoteric traditions from Taoism to Kundalini Yoga, the body is said to contain energy meridians, nadis, or channels. These internal pathways, like ley lines, carry life force, chi, prana, or sikkim. When you align your body, breath, and awareness with intention, you become a living temple, plugged into the very same grid the ancients accessed. Step 1. Find your energetic axis. Stand barefoot on the earth, grass, soil, or stone. Close your eyes and feel the pull of gravity anchoring your body downward, while your spine reaches like a staff toward the sky. This is your personal ley line. Still your breath, and let your awareness settle in the space where earth and sky meet, your heart center. Breathe into it. This is the altar. Step 2, use sound. Chanting, humming, or even intoning a single vowel like AUM can awaken resonant chambers within your body, especially the chest and skull. Experiment with tones that vibrate your bones. You are the chamber. With regular practice, you will notice shifts in focus, mood, even perception. Step 3. Create sacred geometry in your space. Ancient temples were often built using principles of sacred geometry. You can replicate this using simple symbols, a flower of life, a spiral or concentric circles drawn or arranged on your altar. These patterns tune your environment and act as psychic anchors. Step 4. Align with natural cycles. Just as temples were aligned with solstices and equinoxes, attune your practice to the lunar phases or solar rhythms. Meditate at sunrise. Fast during a new moon. Journal on equinoxes. These alignments amplify intention and harmonize your body with the cosmic clock. Step 5. Seek local energy points. You don't need to be at Stonehenge to find a power spot. Visit old trees, hilltops, springs, or caves near where you live. Places where time seems to slow, where silence deepens. You'll know them by feel. Go there regularly. Meditate. Listen. These are your personal temples. Step 6. Ritual and repetition. The ancients didn't just visit temples once. They returned again and again. Create a ritual you return to, a specific time, space, posture, or phrase. Through repetition, you weave your own ley line of intention, one that subtly changes your inner landscape over time. Step 7. Watch for synchronicities. When you begin working with energy intentionally, the world responds. You'll begin to notice symbols, dreams, or unexpected moments of clarity. These are not coincidences. They are feedback from the grid. The earth is listening. In this way, you turn your life into a pilgrimage. Your home becomes a temple. Your footsteps lay lines. Your breath, the sacred wind that once echoed through forgotten chambers. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to remember something ancient, something encoded in stone, in blood, in starlight, something the builders of old once knew, that the earth is alive, that you are part of its circuitry, and that every conscious act of alignment is a prayer written in light. Some truths are not taught, they are remembered, and perhaps, as you've listened to this journey through ancient stones and invisible lines, something inside you has stirred a strange sense of familiarity, a quiet knowing that whispers, "I've been here before." The ancients did not build temples for decoration. They weren't merely creating places of worship, but constructing keys, resonant instruments meant to unlock both planetary and personal consciousness. These sites were never random. They were chosen, mapped, and meticulously aligned with unseen forces modern science barely acknowledges, let alone understands. Ley lines are not just fantasy. They are the circulatory system of the planet, invisible rivers of subtle power that carry frequencies, memory, and intention. And the great temples, the pyramids, the ziggurats, the dolmens and sanctuaries, were the acupuncture needles of Earth, placed with purpose to awaken the sleeping body of Gaia herself. But here's the deeper revelation. The temple was never just a place. It was always a mirror. The ancient builders knew that to stand at the right place at the right time, with the right intention, was to dissolve the boundary between self and cosmos. In that moment, you didn't just visit a sacred site. You became one. You aligned your internal compass with the currents of the planet, the movement of the heavens, and the pulse of the divine. So now ask yourself, where have you built your life? What energy lines are you standing on, consciously or unconsciously? Are your choices, your home, your practices aligned with truth, or are they built atop chaos and noise? Because you have the power to move, to build anew, to turn your breath, your body, your very presence into a temple that radiates light across unseen lines of power. The ancient ones are not gone. They echo through the stones. They whisper through the grid. And they wait for those who remember how to listen. So step forward, stand still, and feel the ley lines awaken beneath your feet.